Qatar is a tiny country with less than 12,000 square kilometers of space. It is among the smallest sovereign states in the world, about the size of Delaware. But Qatar is rich, very rich. A Forbes study published in 2013 found the Gulf nation's GDP per capita to be higher than anywhere else on the planet. It is a country awash in petrodollars. Its Doha skyline looks like something out of the Jetsons. Forbes contributor Beth Greenfield wrote, "If wealth is power, then the Qataris have some serious muscle to flex." Muscles they flexed in acquiring the rights to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
So how did they get it? How did this absolute monarchy on Arabian Peninsula manage to pull off one of the most compelling and controversial coups in football history? Here are the 6 factors Qatar used to its advantage. Democracy, or lack thereof. Qatar is an absolute monarchy. Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani is the emir, and his bloodline has been in power since the founding of Qatar in 1850. Not surprisingly, given its own brand of politics, FIFA finds absolute monarchies, oligarchies, and dictatorships easy to deal with. In April 2013, Jerome Vaught, FIFA's Secretary General, plainly admitted his preference for dealing with countries like Qatar and Russia. It's a preference that, unfortunately, defines world football's governing body. Growth. It's fair to say that Qatar was not involved in the invention and development of the game of football. Qatar has only been an independent country since 1971. However, following the discovery of oil reserves, people flocked into the country and they brought football with them. Enthusiasm for the game was high since the 1950s, and in the following decades, right up to today, football has become a profile part of Qatar's national ambitions. And in a comparatively short time, Qatar has become a real player on the international football scene. Africa. In early 2010, some months before the 2018 and 2022 World Cup tournaments were awarded, the Confederation of African Football held its annual general meeting. Knowing that the Confederation was strapped for cash, Qatar put up money for the event, and in return, they were allowed to present their World Cup bid to the delegates with a vote on FIFA's executive committee. When the executive committee convened to vote on the World Cup hosts, it's more likely the Africans came through for Qatar. Mohammed bin Hamad, a former president of the Asian Football Confederation, the confederation of which Qatar is a member, Mohammed bin Hamad, at least for a time, intended to run for FIFA president, an election campaign that would have put him up against Sepp Blatter. But in August of 2010, he pulled out of the race, telling reporters he would not seek the biggest job in the world of football, and that Blatter is his very good friend. That act of friendship likely had more than a thing or two to do with Qatar's bid wiping away the competition 3 months later. It seemed like Blatter may have repaid bin Hamad's gesture by advocating for a Qatar World Cup to the executive committee. Politics. The United States, South Korea, Japan, and Australia, as well as England in its 2018 bid, simply didn't play them, at least not as well as Qatar. Obviously, lobbying can take up many different forms. It can look like a trip, a dinner, a swanky hotel, an infrastructure project. Those things that are legal even though they are quite clearly meant to steer influence. They played FIFA's game by FIFA's rules. And now we come full circle. Money. We don't know exactly how much money Qatar spent on their 2022 World Cup bid, but The Guardian estimates the amount to have been slightly less than $200 million in public funds. Australia, by comparison, spent just $24.7 million on its bid. The United States spent less than $5 million. What's fascinating about Qatar's successful bid is just how resounding its victory was. After the first round of voting, Qatar already had as many supporters as its 3 rivals combined. And as Australia, Japan, and South Korea were discarded in succession from the ballot, Qatar continued to gain votes. In the end, the United States was defeated.